morning. Welcome to North Chapel on this Sunday, October 13th, 2024. My name is Hope Yeager and I am the service coordinator today. Our minister, Reverend Leon Dunkley, is away today, but Mary Jeanne Taylor, a longtime member of North Chapel, former chair of the North Chapel Board of Trustees, and an all-around fantastic, amazing person, is here to offer a reflection. There are announcements in your order of service, as well as on the church website, about what's happening here at North Chapel. And I urge you to read those announcements when you get a chance. And Megan has an announcement.
So, Covenant Group is still open for registration, regardless of whatever dates might be in announcements. I've kind of lost track because I keep moving the date. We do not currently have enough people to do it, so if you're on the fence and have any questions, make sure to ask. There are some forms to sign up in the back, and I have some, and there's been links in announcements, so if you want to do it digitally, that is also an option. If you're kind of on the fence and you just want to talk through what maybe is keeping you from making a decision or signing up, please chat with me and I will be glad to talk to you about that. I don't know what today's date is. We will probably just make it easy and say the end of the month for the final date, and after that I really, but for now, if you're on the fence, talk it through as soon as possible, and the sooner we know if we can get moving forward, the better. Thank you.
Okay, Mary Blanton has an announcement or two.
Good morning. So the circle dinner has been changed to a potluck. So it is next Saturday night, starting at 5:30. Kids are welcome, and we'll have a rousing game of bingo at the end. So please plan to come. And I will have a clipboard. Today is the last day for wreaths if you want to order a wreath. Thank you.
These words are by Rosemary Watola Traumer. This is her poem titled Safety Net. And after these words, you will have a short time of meditation. This morning I woke thinking of all the people I love and all the people they love and how big the net of lovers. It felt so clear, all those invisible ties, interwoven like silken threads, strong enough to make a mesh that for thousands of years has been woven and rewoven to catch us all. Sometimes we go on as if we forget about it, believing only in the fall, but the net is just as real. Every day, with every small kindness, with every generous act, we strengthen it. Notice, even now, how as the whole world seems to be falling, the net is there for us as we walk the day's tightrope. Notice how every tie matters.
Good morning, friends.
and thank you for allowing me this time with you. Ever blessed by the stories you have shared with me and this community over the years, I appreciate the opportunity to share with you 3 essays dealing with, let's just call them life quakes. And they have brought me to this day. 1 or 2 of these offerings may sound familiar to you, though if, like me, words and memories thereof may fade with time. I am reading these pieces as if they are in the present, though you will quickly learn 2 are not so. But it's important to me to read them as they were written. So with apologies for anything that feels repetitive, I thank you for listening. From March 2011. It's an annoying television spot. I hate it. I'll bet you do too. About 3 weeks ago, after an innocent fall during a walk, I wound up the star in my very own I've fallen and I can't get up commercial. My knee, which hadn't bothered me until it did, blew up to 4 times its size, and within the span of an hour, I could not move without excruciating pain. To make a long story short, I wound up in the ER, was given some good pain meds, x-rays, crutches, and a leg immobilizer. The universe was telling me to slow down, and I had no choice but to listen. For the next 10 days, I found myself thinking about where I am in my life and how I got here. So when Daniel, our past minister, mentioned he was looking for some of us to share our growing up stories, I felt this was also part of the universe's call to me. I am beyond middle-aged. I don't feel it, and I don't like to think it. But chances are pretty darn good that at 52, I am. My inability to get around my house and help myself after my injury really hit home. How do I want to live? Hopefully, the next 25 to 30 years, and can I do it as a single woman in an 1800s farmhouse which sits high on a steep hill in Bethel, in a state where we can easily have 5 months of challenging weather. I am in such a different place in my life than I ever imagined I would find myself. So, as I sat much stiller during this time of slowdown and reflection, I began to clean out. Files, pictures, cards, and notes. I took a brief tour of my life and began to understand that I needed to go back in time to figure out how to go forward. Midlife, the time in between. Until 6.5 years ago, I was living with and completely devoted to the love of my life. But in the years just before that, all that I had known about being a couple had begun to unravel. Through lots of hard and heart work, my husband of nearly 25 years and I decided to begin to end our marriage. He is a good man, and I sense he is finding his place in this world, which gives me more joy than he or anyone will ever understand. I will love him and miss us forever. Yet it was the right thing to do. Single. Until 6.5 years ago, I was a full-time stay-at-home super volunteer mom. Some of you may understand what I mean when I say I was more passionate about my kids and their activities than just about anything else in life. Still am, in fact. But there's a decidedly different spin on things now. I was blessed to be able to have this role, but with the kids growing up and the changes in my marriage, it was time to re-examine where to put some of my energy. And so I applied for and got my first full-time job in more than 20 years. Career. Until 5 years ago, my parents were vibrant and well. My mother developed a horrid degenerative disease which ultimately took her from us much earlier than I ever would have imagined would be possible. For the first time in my life, the comfort that comes with knowing I had one person in my corner who loved me more than life itself ended, and every color in my world changed. Watching someone you love battle a killer changes you. It breaks your heart, and that first dance with serious loss made me question everything about death and afterlife. Grief. Until 3 years ago, there was always one of my adored children under my feet or under my roof. As long as one of them is there, home is as it should be, and my heart is full. The youngest left for college in 2008, on my own. What do you do when every part of your life changes in fairly short order? I mean, this is what midlife is, right? Kids grown, dealing with aging parents, keep your house, sell your house, move to warmer climates, etc., etc. Nothing happening in my life is so unusual. It's my life, my story. It could belong to anyone. Here's the thing though, like the rest of life, there is no way you are prepared for it or see it coming. You get smacked in the face or you fall on your knee, and suddenly you aren't just approaching middle age, you are in it and beyond. When all of these drastic changes were happening, I cried all the time and at any time. I hated going upstairs at the end of the day to be alone, in a bed, in a house, in a world. My tears would start about halfway up the stairs, and by the time I crawled into bed, they had become heaving sobs. Most nights, I would cry myself to sleep. Other times, I would be up for hours. Always beginning the next day with swollen slits that passed for eyes and ending it in the same way as the night before. I didn't know it then, but the tears were my cleansing, my healing, my salvation. The sweetest part of my heart and memories of all that had passed, coming through in waters to make clean the way ahead. And you know, as I revisited my life a week or so ago, I cried a lot too. I think I'm ready now to embrace where I am and make decisions for my future. First on my list, sit down with my contractor to try to figure out how to keep living in the place where my heart will always be most content, home. Though my life is completely different, please know that my knee has healed, and so have I. I love my life. I truly hope I never need one of those darn buttons you push for help, but I recognize now that even considering it is what being in the middle is all about. People always say that love will happen when you least expect it. Well, after being on my own for 9 years at the time that I wrote the letter I am about to read you, let me just say that this love not only caught me off guard, but redefined everything I thought I knew about love. Now mind you, I had come to a place of acceptance and complete comfort, even joy about living a single life. But I would be lying if I didn't say that then, as ever, hope springs eternal. I wrote this letter more than a year ago in January of 2013, with the expectation of giving it to the person I wrote it to somewhere far in the future, if at all. It was, in actuality, a letter to help me let go and move on. Thank you for allowing me to share this love story with you. It is late July, perhaps, or early August, the day you traveled to Massachusetts for a funeral. I had forgotten you were going and texted you to ask you something utterly unimportant in comparison. And you reminded me where your day had taken you. You were on your way back to Vermont at that moment as you had to work in the kitchen, though it was likely the last thing you wanted to do. You came to my office when you got back to campus to make sure I didn't still need your help. You were dressed all in black, and your face and eyes were red. You were wearing the sadness of your day. I remember thinking you seemed small, maybe a bit heartbroken, and quite sweet at that moment. I barely knew you. If it wasn't that very night, it was soon after when I couldn't sleep and didn't know why. Not once or twice, but over and over, night after night. Yet, each day I woke up, energized, excited to go to work, excited, I quickly began to figure out, to see you. Not just as the new campus food service general manager, or as a new friend. No, incredible as it was to realize, I had a crush on you. It had been a very long time since I had had such feelings, but not so long that they were unrecognizable. I am 54 years old, heterosexual as far as I had ever thought, and I have a crush on a woman who has come into my life quite by chance. Now, how do I say this next part in church? even this church. How about just the acronym? WTF. You are 14 years younger than me, nothing like me, completely unaware of my feelings, and yet it is thoughts of you keeping me awake at night. It is thoughts of you totally suppressing my appetite. I've lost 10 pounds. It is thoughts of you which have turned into one of the greatest and most unexpected gifts of my life. This then, dear one, is my love letter to you, filled with gratitude for blessing me in ways that you do not even realize. As I continue to wrap my head around this discovery of my heart, I am experiencing a lovely and true lightness and joy in my life. Yes, it is partially the crush, I am certain, but there's something else much bigger at play here. A recognition of the amazing freedom I am coming to terms with. Not all that long ago, my youngest child, who dated men until that point in time, was explaining her relatively new relationship with a woman. As she told me that she was attracted to the whole person and her heart first, before the person's gender, I could not really understand what she meant, though I was completely supportive of her new young love. I think now I understand. I have never had an issue or concern with homosexuality. Even writing this sentence feels wrong to me. Love is love, period. LGBTQ++++ are letters of the alphabet, not definitions of people. In my head, heart, and soul, I do truly believe that it is just this simple. Love is love. Here's the real gift in this, sweets. The freedom I feel deep down in my soul comes from the understanding that I can allow myself to be open to all possibilities, people, and experiences that cross my path. While I have always considered myself to be non-judgmental and accepting, this stirring in my heart has put all of life in a brand new, brilliant light for me. I do not remember the last time I felt so happy. It is not easy to find the words, but here's what I believe it comes down to for me. A knowing of myself, my heart, my soul, that is deeper than I ever would have realized because of you. Soon after understanding why I was not sleeping or eating, I met a woman who had come to help you at work for the day. As she offered me her hand in introduction, I knew immediately that she was your girl. How is this possible? You had never told me a thing about your personal life. I wasn't even certain you were queer. Yet at first look and touch, I knew this was the woman of your heart. I am still bowled over by that moment because in my mind, somehow, it speaks to our connection. Ah, the true definition of crush, then. What it ultimately does to a heart. Oh, but before that, the bliss, the excitement, the wonder, the hope, all of these have been mine for months because of you. Now, though, it is time to start letting go. Not because I want to, but because I must. My heart cannot keep up this pace. The knowledge of your partner, always knowing that our professional relationship would not easily allow a romance, and our deepening friendship require that I figure out how to take the gifts you have allowed my heart to experience and begin to walk away. I am not at all sure how to do that, but this letter is, I think, the first step. Even as my heart does crush by my own hand at this moment in time, I will ever be grateful to you for your presence in my life. I hope that someday you will read these words yourself, but then maybe, just maybe, you already know that the love I feel for you, the knowing that is deep in my heart, are gifts for a lifetime, and they have changed me forever. You need to know that as I wrote this letter and for many nights after, I cried until I could not see. Forcing myself to purge my heart of her was so painful I couldn't believe it. In some ways it felt ridiculous to be hurting so much when our relationship had never even happened. But there it was, a gallon of tears, a broken heart, unrequited love. Or so I thought. Within weeks of writing the letter, almost as if in response to words she knew nothing about, something began to shift in her.
And very soon after this, many things changed in our lives. And just this past week, we celebrated the year anniversary of being together and of a love which I say without hesitation has changed our lives forever. The 12th, no the 22nd, no the 28th of September, the 8th of October, 2024. To say it has been quite a road to this final draft is an understatement. As I begin this last piece, kindly allow me to say thank you to 3 of the people of my heart who have come to support me today. Maureen, my friend of a lifetime. Together, we learned how to hold each other up during the past challenging year. And to my Scotty and Taryn, who feathered me a nest of love and kept me safe during a time when I could barely function. Well, my gratitude to you 3 is beyond measure. This morning, as I sit at my sweet little window desk in my new home, I look out hoping to see Lake Champlain and the mountains of New York. But with the changing autumn weather, I notice that there are mornings when the view I have come to love in the short time I have lived in Burlington is obscured by fog and mist. And for now, just like with this piece of writing, I will need to wait for the vista to become clear. From Lauren Levi, I am going to plant hope in my scars and watch something beautiful bloom. As I began to think of telling you about this latest life quake, I came to a decidedly different way of how I wanted to share with you, and it found its way to me and my heart on a recent morning when, feeling the too familiar hurt and sadness start to bubble up inside me, I said out loud to no one in the room but me, "Go away, leave me alone." It was the first time I had said it, and it was meant for the same person who once changed my life, the same person for whom I wrote the love letter I just read you. Rather than share the ugly details with you, I just bet that if I say to you that she did every possible dirty, lying, awful thing a person in a 10+ year committed relationship could do to another one, that you will understand it all without further comment. Am I right? I knew it. I no longer need to focus on the injury she caused me. She has taken enough. I do not need to relive it, and you do not need to hear about it. She is not worth our energy. Though convinced there will always be a hole in my heart, I am finding the ways to do more than bandage it. I am slowly, but ever so surely, stitching it up, shrinking it, and strengthening that which was so broken. So then, a story of healing. Excuse me. Words by Stephanie Bennett Henry. Surround yourself with the ones who know how far you have walked from the hell to the healing. And even if you still have a long way to go, they hold the door, hold your hand, hold your heart, for as long as you need to come out of the dark, walk into the light, and shine as yourself again. The journey through trauma is horrid. I hope you never experience being treated the way I was. And if you have been, I am so sorry for your pain. There have been, though, for me, many lessons and even more blessings. I was very selective about who I chose to share with. It was just too painful to relive the never-ending hurt. So the ones who were really there for me was a small, though mighty circle. My children and their partners, all 6, were beyond amazing. It is a hard thing to be the one in need of dire support after all the years of raising them, loving them, and watching them grow into the incredible humans they are. I hate so much that they had to experience my pain as deeply as I know they did. I was also blessed to be cared for by dear friends and other family, each to the best of their abilities and in differing ways. These words from Brene Brown encapsulate something I thought I understood before all this, but in fact, during these past months, I learned. My mother taught us never to look away from people's pain. The lesson was simple. Don't look away. Don't look down. Don't pretend not to see hurt. Look people in the eye, even when their pain is overwhelming. And when you are in pain, find the people who can look you in the eye. We need to know we are not alone, especially when we are hurting. This lesson is one of the greatest gifts of my life. I will never forget the people who were there for me, who scooped me, as we say in my family, who never looked away. I knew my children loved me. I now know how much. I can say without hesitation that they saved me, especially these two. And without them, well, I just don't know. And others in my world, some who I thought would be there for me, did not know how to do so, it would seem. And some who said things like, I got you, I never heard from again. But my angels, and they know who they are. They came, they stayed, they held me up. I learned who truly deserves a seat at my table. I have always known, don't we all, that I am surrounded by a world of hurt and others' injuries, and that it is so true that I do not know what a person is going through in their life. My next learned lesson, I want to try my best to remember to be gentle, to be kind, to know that while talking to a stranger, the person I am talking to may be walking through their own valley of suffering. These words have no credited author. One day, the mountain that is in front of you will be so far behind you, it will barely be visible in the distance. But the person you become in learning to get over it, that will stay with you forever. And that is the point of the mountain. Boy, do I hate to hike. Love to walk, hate to hike. But I discovered I can indeed climb a mountain. As often happens in our worlds, this was never a journey I asked for or expected, but I believe I have just recently made it to the top of the mountain, after over a year now, doing so one step, one day at a time. All plans upended, all expectations dashed. I'm putting it behind me and have done the practical work that needed to happen to clear my path so I could begin the descent from the summit. I cleaned out and sold our family home of more than 30 years, decided on a new place to live, and found an apartment, downsizing from a 4+ bedroom to a 400 square foot apartment, which I adore. Please understand, I loved the life I once had in Bethel, but the ghosts of my recent years there became too loud. And as I struggled up that dreaded mountain, the view that became clear to me was the need to start not just a new chapter, but a whole new book. For this, I felt the desire to give myself different building blocks to work with, a fresh start. And like this essay, I imagine there will be a number of drafts of this book. I honestly think I have only just arrived in a place of clarity where there is space for possibility. A few weeks ago, I went to a fabulous concert at the Shelburne Museum with my Scotty. It was a stunning evening with amazing music filling the night. As I stood, sang along, and danced, I found myself simply having fun. At the end of the concert, as we packed up our chairs and such, Scotty gave me a big hug and said, "Ma, it was so, so good to witness your joy tonight." Then, just last weekend, as I watched Scotty and Taryn exchange their marriage vows, hello, newlyweds, on a glorious day here in Vermont, up on a green hillside adorned with the colors of fall, with their siblings standing by their sides, and one of them, Molly, officiating the ceremony with the sweetest words, chosen family and friends surrounding them. I believe I experienced transformative love. It was a healing love that I never saw coming, but there it was. Family and friends in attendance to celebrate Scotty and Terrence's joyous day. Many also knowing the year I had experienced went out of their way to find me, hug me, tell me how proud they were of me, and how radiant I was. In celebration, I am wearing just what I wore last Saturday. And in case you cannot tell, this is not a hiking outfit. In the early days of this hard year, Scotty would hug me tightly as I sobbed, saying, "It will get better, Ma." I would question, "Promise?" "I promise," they would say. "When?" I would say back. "When will it be better?" It's finally so much more than better. I have rediscovered joy, light, laughter, and fun, while scooped by darling ones along the way. The biggest lesson of all, I had to take this journey and come out on the other side of it on my own. While much of my past 11 years now lives in a vault from a time that was once sweet and is now so bitter, there are pieces of that time and before and of my life that will always be with me. I will never regret the love letter I wrote her and shared with you. What I learned back then about myself and my heart was soul-changing, and that is not hers to claim. I take all the sweetest memories of my family's life in Bethel with me. Friends, fun, and all the love from that darling farmhouse in tiny Vermont town live with me wherever I call home. And then there's you. This beloved community. This North Chapel will forever be a place of light, and my years here will always feel like the homecoming this fine place has been for my spirit. Leaving you, along with my dear local friends, was the hardest, heart-wrenching part of my decision to move away from Bethel. So while I bid you farewell, I cannot say goodbye. I do not expect to sit with you in the pews any longer, or act as service coordinator, maybe once or twice a year. Or join voices in our favorite hymns, many of which Diane chose today. But my years here have changed my life for the better, and you are part of that gift. With more gratitude than you could ever know, I wish each of you all good things, and a life where you know kindness, good health, and great love. A piece of me rests here always. I'd like to close with these words from Remembering Love by Cleo Wade, a book given to me when this story started, but which I could not read for its tenderness until just recently. Findings. Feeling lost reminds us we have a home, a place within, waiting and willing to welcome us and shelter us. A place within where we eternally and unconditionally belong. A place within where love begins and never ends. On your hardest days, when the mountain looms and you just cannot, I hope you can remember love. In finishing this piece, I am watching a vibrantly pink sun slide behind the mountains, and I see the lake. The view is clear. Thank you.
Be lamps unto yourselves. Be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.